Hello, Fat Guy Flies RC. We're in the man cave. We're going to be putting together the new Durafly Ugly Stick version 2, the blue and white one. And here's the plane. I got all the little pieces out here. Hopefully you can see it on the video here. Let me move the camera just a touch, make sure everything can be seen. But as you can see, I'm a servo tester. You got all little bits and bags and pieces that hold all your parts, and nice wooden prop, your tail, your different screws. Now, one thing I noticed when and shout out to Hobby King, every single part was wrapped in plastic bags like these. The prop, the landing gear, the wing, the rudder, the elevator, everything had its own individual bag, which some say it's overkill, but no, it's not. It was great. It's absolutely great. I was very, very impressed with that. One thing I did notice right off the bat is the elevator was very, very stiff. It almost like had to pop in order to get to move. So whenever you get a new model, always, especially these foamies, always work these hinges really, really well. Now, it looks like it's just a simple laminate type hinge or just a foam hinge, which is okay. In a moment, I'll stop the camera. I'm going to get some Blenderm tape and put that on the bottom. I always put them on the bottom of the control surface because it's ugly. Blenderm tape, no matter how good quality it is, or hinge tape as it's called, is very ugly. So I always put it on the bottom. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to flex your control surfaces far out, put a little piece on the ends, and that's where most likely tears are going to happen, maybe a little bit closer in, a little bit. You don't have the whole thing, you don't have to. And then run your nail in there and just make it in all the way in the hinge and then smooth it down. But I'll show you that in a minute. But make sure you work your hinge real well. The rudder was in really good shape. Now, rudder, it's you're going to be seeing it. So you got to pick the side that you want to put the tape in. You may be able to get away with not as much, but I noticed like right there, it kind of has a split there. That's the design of it, and they got some like laminate. That's just a regular foam hinge, but still, I'm going to run a piece of Blenderm probably on this side. Okay, so that's that. The landing gear is good shape, nice big robust wheels, aluminum. They're going to give a little small amount of flex. The wing, the finish on this, just like GB Linden's video of his unboxing, and he didn't do an assembly, but he did the unboxing, and I have to agree with him. The finish on this plane is awesome, and I may not, I may not put Blenderm tape. They do have some sort of a hinge in there. I guess it's just like a heavy. Maybe it is I can't really tell, to be honest with you. I think I'll just forego the Blenderm tape at this time. But I can always, because you can always unhook your control surfaces and add that at a later time, because you're going to want to flex it the fullest amount, hold it out, and run your Blenderm tape. You can see this. You're going to, when you put your tape on, you're going to hold it out the furthest extension, and then run it right down there with your nail, and then smooth it out whenever you're ready to put it on. I don't think I'm going to do it this time. But these hinges are fairly tight, so you're going to want to move them a little bit before you hook up your control linkages. Alright, so that's the basic overview of the parts. Well, hold on, let's go with the fuse. I do have one problem that I've noticed with this, and it's the design flaw. Nice plastic cover for the battery hatch, and this is the battery hatch, and they want you to put a 3000 in there. Well, but they've got the ESC and all the wires running. The only place you can really put them, unless you mount them on the side, is going to be on top of the battery. Well, batteries get a little warm, ESC gets a little warm. They shouldn't get that bad, but they're going to be sitting on top of each other, so I'm not real happy with that design, but it is what it is. So what I'm going to do, most of my 3000s are a flatter battery. They're not so much bulky, they're flat. So I'm going to be putting them in here on their side, up against this side here with Velcro. yes, I know the weight is going to be slightly over to one side, not enough to be that big of a deal. If the weight was further out in the model, yeah, that'd be a problem. But just shift it over an inch or so inside is not going to give you that much of a flight difference. But you are going to have to put the battery in, and just the way it's designed, they got a nice big bottom hatch down here. When you put your battery in, you're going to have to, yes, it's a top loader, but you're going to have to turn the model over and connect it from underneath. And given how long the length of this access is, that's the only way I can explain it, because why would they give an access that long? Because this is typically to service your servos. Well, it's this long, so, that has to be what they meant for you to do. Alright, well, we're going to, that's the fuselage. Other than that, I haven't noticed anything. Nice ball link connections here. Alright, we're going to stop the video for just a second. Something that's monotonous that I don't need to show you is you have to install the hinges. Or, I'm sorry, I'm not hinges, the control horns onto all the rudder, the elevator, and the wing. And that's monotonous, and I don't need to bore you with that. So we're going to stop for that for just a moment. We'll be right back. Alright, Fat Guy Flies RC, we're back again. Continue on with the build of this Ugly Stick version 2. We're going to move... Oh, real quick, I told you in the last part of the video that I was not going to use a Blenderm tape, but I started looking a little closer, and I decided to go ahead and do it. Now, here's one side of the rudder. Yes, it's a little unsightly, but I'd rather have a little unsightly than, have a control surface rip off on me after, some use. Did the same thing with the elevator. Did on the bottom side. You can always tell the bottom side, or normally can tell the bottom side of a control surface, because you'll see little notches where you can see the carbon spar that they put through there. Because on this side, they wouldn't show that. Makes sense. I've already installed all the control horns on all the control surfaces also. I was going to do that because that's just monotonous work that you don't need to watch. I mean, everybody knows how to do that, or they should. It's just putting screws and bolts. Simple. Now, one little tip on that, though, is anytime that you're doing that, and you put these two little screws in there, and you got this little back plate that you're screwing into, the moment you start seeing the foam dip a little, or dent a little bit from tightening, you've tightened it enough. Don't go any further. You have tightened it enough. That foam will actually expand back a little bit and lock in that control horn. So don't tighten up anymore. Now I'm going to put the landing gear on, but I'm going to show you a little trick, a little secret to the world that Brian Phillips on his website uses, and I think it's a great idea. Get an old pillow. Yes, model stands are great. Model stands are great, but get yourself an old pillow. This nasty old pillow is what I use because I'm going to put my landing gear on. Look what that. It holds it in place and won't damage the foam. So make sure we're able to be seen here. That's one thing. I love GoPros, but I guess I should do it wirelessly where I can watch on a screen or I know what I'm doing. Okay, well anyways, we're going to put landing gear on. Now, landing gear is held on. Oh, by the way, everything on this model is, from what I've been able to tell, is Phillips head screwdrivers. Or Phillips head nuts. So, okay, that feels like that's right. So, you got two Phillips screws. Now, this landing gear, it's pretty much the same way. It kind of has a slight rake backwards. So I'm going to say that's the way to put it on. Line that up in there. And, because this is the nuts, this is for the wing, and this is for the tail. So by default, these two have to be with landing gear. Because it doesn't go into like machine screws. I think it's just hard plastic it's going into. Yeah, that feels right. That feels right. Just get it in there nice and snug. Don't go over snug. Just nice and snug. You don't want to go crazy. Okay? You really don't. You gotta remember, you're a great big person compared to this itty bitty model. You know, think about if you had scale workers using hand tools putting this plane together if it was scale. There's no way they could get as tight as your big hands could be. So, okay, and that actually it has a point where it stops, so you know you've gone far enough. And that is landing gear for that. Now we're going to work on the tail. Putting the tail on this, I'll use a stand for. Anytime I'm going to use like a wing or the flat part of the fuselage, you know, I usually like to do that. Alright, we're going to put the tail together. Now, one thing with this model is you're going to see this little tail, okay, the tail wheel, and this little collar is on there. Now, it comes on there already. I'm going to get you a little Allen wrench, a little metric, I don't know what size, Allen wrench, and take that off, okay? Because let me show you why. You can't put the tail on or the rudder on without it, okay? Rudder fits right down in there, possibly. Alright, that's going to fit right down. Okay, hold on. Let me give it a, take it off camera here for just a second. And, okay, and that's, alright, now, when you know you have that seated all the way, you'll notice that the white, will be so the white there, shows up from the white tubes that come down, okay? Now, how I know I put the control horn on the right side is, see, looky there. This is angled up and therefore would hit with that. So, let's put the elevator on, okay? Now, okay, that goes there. This goes here. You know what? I wonder if that fits. No. No. Hold on. Let me figure this out. Let me go off camera real quick. Because normally the linkages are going to be on the underside, but instead it's on the top side. That's what threw me off. Still, you see the white come through. Okay? And this is where you're going to want, well, hold on. I'm going to slide that collar back on the tail there. Okay? Hopefully that's not a mistake. And then line the tail up here. Okay? Okay? And you have a bag of 2 screws. They're very obviously for the tail, not the wing. And let's get one right through there. And that should line up underneath there. Alright, I feel it grab. Feel it grab, man, I feel it grab. Put that through there. Okay. So all the connections are going to be on the top side. Sorry, I'm in the way there. Are all going to be on the top side of the elevator. So I find that strange, but not unusual, just a little bit different. Okay, so let me turn the model this way a little bit so that I can put my hand back here on the rudder and give a little bit of support there. There again, just go to where you feel it snug in and stop. Don't go any further than that. Okay. Alright. I love these little Chinese Phillips screwdrivers you get with many models. I'm going to assume it's going to stop at some point. It'd be nice if it would have gone in like a brass fitting. Okay, yeah, there it goes. There, that was starting to get tight. And that was good tight. Okay, cool. Alright, now let's turn our attention to putting the tail wheel on. You know, I think what we're going to do is we're going to... Alright, now, if you look in here, if you look right here, you can see... Let me see if you can see it on the camera here. If you look, there's two little grub screws. Okay? Two little grub screws. You're going to tighten the one up, the top one up, to bite into the flat part of the rudder. And then when you bring your tail wheel in, there's a flat part there that the other grub screw is going to tighten into. So that's what I'm going to do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it upside down. Let gravity be my friend here. Of course, I can't see it as well. Flat side out. It's already there. Okay. Okay, now that collar, I'm going to have to slide that collar up some to get onto... Sorry, my big old head's in the way. You know what? I'm going to have to manipulate this a little bit better. Well, anyways, I'm going to tighten the two grub screws up. The top grub screw is going to be tightened up at the bottom of the elevator or the rudder, and the second part will be tightened to the tail wheel. So let me turn the camera off real quick so I can do that. I've addressed the tail issue as far as the tail wheel. And let me move this out of the way. Alright, now, if you notice, that little collar there needs to be all the way at the end. Okay, now if you tighten these two grub screws up and you can freely move either one of them, then you're not grabbing that flat part of the axles in there. So make sure you tighten them up where they're both grabbing and line them up as close as you can to each other, and then that way you should be okay for your for the movement there. Now, since we're still back here, let's get our pillow. Okay, get our pillow, and let's hook up these control surfaces. Now, they've given you several options, you know, where you want it. Myself, I like, you know what? Hold on, folks. Before we do this, I want to show you something. Before I hook these up, it'll save you a lot of heartache. And this is making sure your servos are centered. So they're already, the servos, the control rods are already hooked up to the side, right? Okay, so let's take servo checker, I mean a little servo tester, put some power to it, and let's make sure that our servos are in the neutral position. Now, I happen to have a, I don't know what brand this is. It was like 30 bucks. Probably more than I needed to pay. I've got an old cheap ESC hooked to the back of it, just taped to it, and plug it in there. Gives me power. I'm going to hook it up to the rudder servo, which is the one I want. Okay, and watch this rod right here. Okay, now dial either way, so I know that in the middle there, that, and there's a little spot in here, but you know you're in the middle. That means that's neutral. So I can unplug it. Okay, now I can turn my attention to where you can actually see now. Okay, now I can turn my attention to it. Alright, in the kit, oh, it looks like I've lost them again. Alright, in the kit you have little screws that have like a little bearing or a little place you can grab, and then you've got these little locking wing nuts, or little that's what you put your little ball links through. So I like as much control as I can get on elevator and rudder. So I'm going to put in the very last one, or the closest to the control surface. I'm going to slide. You see, I slid my ball link through there. And then I'm going to take a pair of pliers, needle nose, so it's got a long neck on it, hold the little nut there. I'm sorry, the rudder is shading this. And I'm going to attach these. Hopefully I've gotten some bite there. No, I don't. Might have to use my finger. Remember, they go one way. So, put that in there like that. That way I can feel it.